Dr. Lisa Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the computer screen. It was 3 in the morning at the Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex in California. She had been working alone for 6 hours, listening to the endless noise. From space. Most nights, she heard nothing but static and random signals from distant stars. Tonight was different. The signal started as a whisper among the cosmic noise. Lisa almost missed it, but something made her stop and listen more carefully. The pattern was too regular, too organized to be natural. She recorded the signal and played it back several times. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone to call Dr. Kevin Brooks, her research partner. Kevin answered on the second ring, his voice thick with sleep. "Lisa, it's 3 in the morning. This better be important. Kevin, you need to come in right now. I think I found something." "Found what?" "I think it's a message from space. From someone intelligent." 20 minutes later, Kevin rushed into the laboratory, his hair messy and his clothes wrinkled. Lisa played the recording for him. They both listened in silence as strange patterns of sounds filled the room. "Play it again," Kevin whispered Dot. They spent the next 4 hours analyzing the signal. The mathematics were clear. This was not random noise. Someone, somewhere in space, was trying to communicate. Over the next 3 days, Lisa and Kevin worked. Without sleep, they slowly decoded parts of the message. What they found made their hearts race with excitement and fear. The message was a cry for help. The beings who sent it called themselves the Kithara. They lived on a world called Thyros. Prime, 847 light-years away from Earth. Their message told a horrible story. Their planet was dying. Something they called the consuming dark was destroying everything on their world. The Kithara described the consuming dark as a plague that turned living things into more of itself. It spread across their planet like a disease, but worse. It was smart. It learned. It adapted to everything they tried to use against it. The aliens said they had maybe 6 months before their entire species would be extinct. 50 million Kithara had already died. Only 2 million remained, hiding in underground cities. Lisa and Kevin checked their translation 100 times. They ran every test they could think of. The message was real. This was first contact with alien life, and these aliens were dying. Dr. Martinez knew she had to tell someone, but who would believe her? She decided to call her old professor, Dr. Harold Stone, who worked with the government on space projects. "Dr. Stone, this is Lisa Martinez. I need to speak with you about something urgent." "Lisa, good to hear from you. What can I do for you?" "I need you to sit down, Professor. I've received a message from aliens, and they're asking for help." There was a long silence on the phone. "Lisa, are you feeling all right? Have you been sleeping?" "Professor, I'm completely serious. Kevin and I have been analyzing this signal for 3 days. It's real. They're real, and they're dying." Dr. Stone arrived at Goldstone 6 hours later with 3 other scientists. They spent 2 full days checking Lisa and Kevin's work. Every test confirmed the same thing. The signal was genuine. Earth had received its first message from alien life. The news spread quickly through scientific communities around the world. Within a week, government officials from every major nation knew about the Kithara and their desperate situation. Response was not what Lisa expected. Politicians argued about whether the message was real. Military leaders worried about alien invasions. Scientists demanded more proof. Meanwhile, the Kithara were sending new messages every day, each one more. Desperate in the last. Captain Jake Sullivan commanded the newest deep space vessel in Earth's small fleet, the UN's Endeavour. When he heard about the alien distress call, he immediately requested permission to help. "Sir, these beings are dying," Captain Sullivan told Admiral Robert Hayes during a video conference. They reached out across nearly 1,000 light years. asking for help. How can we ignore that? Captain, we don't even know if we can reach them. Our fastest ships would take thousands of years to travel that distance. The aliens included scientific data in their message. Our engineers think we might be able to build faster ships using their information. Dr. Martinez was asked to present her findings to the United Nations Space Council. She stood before representatives from 50 nations and explained what the Kithara had told them. These beings are peaceful researchers and philosophers, she said. They've shared their scientific knowledge freely with us. They've taught us mathematics and physics we never imagined. They're not asking for weapons or military help. They just want to survive. The council meeting lasted for 3 days. Some representatives wanted to help. Others worried about the cost and danger. A few suggested that the aliens might be lying, trying to trick humans into leaving Earth. Then something unexpected happened. News of the alien distress call leaked to the public. Within hours, every television station and internet site on Earth was talking about the dying aliens who had asked for help. The public reaction surprised everyone. Instead of panic, people wanted to help. Instead of fear, they showed compassion. Phone calls and emails flooded government offices. People demanded that Earth send a rescue mission. The first volunteer registered 12 hours after the news broke. His name was Danny Wright, a construction worker from Texas. He had no space training, no scientific education, but he wanted to help save the aliens. My grandfather fought in World War II, Danny told a reporter. He always said you help people who need help, no matter who they are or where they come from. These aliens need help, and I want to go. By the end of the first day, 300 people had volunteered. By the end of the week, the number reached 5,000. Teachers, doctors, engineers, farmers, students, and retired people from every country on Earth wanted to join the mission. Dr. Rachel Foster, a psychologist who studied people in extreme situations, was asked to interview the volunteers. She wanted to understand why so many people would risk their lives for aliens they had never met. Why do you want to go? She asked Elena Rodriguez, a biomedical engineer from Mexico. Because they asked for help, Elena replied simply. Because they're dying, and maybe we can save them. But you might never come home. You might die in space. Elena was quiet for a moment. Dr. Foster, if aliens came to Earth asking for help to save our species, wouldn't you want them to try? Even if it was dangerous for them? Dr. Foster asked the same questions to hundreds of volunteers. The answers were always similar. People wanted to help because it was the right thing to do. After 1 month, 19,000 people from around the world had volunteered for the mission. They knew it would probably be a one-way trip. They knew the dangers. They volunteered. Anyway, the politicians could no longer ignore the public demand. The United Nations voted to approve the rescue mission. Earth would try to save the Kithara, no matter what the cost. As Dr. Martinez watched the vote on television, she thought about the dying aliens so far away. She wondered if they knew that 19,000 humans were preparing to cross the galaxy. To help them, she hoped the Kithara could hold on just a little longer. Help was coming. The selection process began immediately after the United Nations vote. Dr. Rachel Foster led a team of psychologists who had to choose 19,000 volunteers from over 300,000 applicants. More people kept volunteering every day, even though everyone knew this was likely a one-way mission. Dr. Foster interviewed people from every continent. There was Maria Santos, a farmer from Brazil, who said her crops could help feed the aliens. Bobby Turner, an engineer from Canada, wanted to help rebuild their world. Jennifer Walsh, a doctor from Kenya, hoped to find a cure for the alien plague. Each volunteer had their own reason for wanting to go, but Dr. Foster noticed something amazing. Nobody seemed to care about fame or glory. They just wanted to help save a dying species. The technical challenges were enormous. Earth's fastest. Spaceships could travel at only a small fraction of light speed. Even the newest ship, Captain Sullivan's UN's Endeavour, would take thousands of years to reach the alien world. Dr. Sam Miller, Earth's leading physicist, studied the scientific information the Kithara had included in their distress signal. Aliens had shared their knowledge of faster-than-light travel, hoping Earth could use it to reach them. The math is incredible, Dr. Miller told a meeting of scientists and engineers. The Kithara have figured out how to fold space itself. If we can build engines based on their designs, we might be able to reach them in less than a year. Teams of engineers worked around the clock to build the new ships. The project required cooperation between every nation on Earth. Countries that had been enemies for decades suddenly worked together to save aliens they had never met. Meanwhile, the volunteers prepared for their mission. They studied everything humans knew about the Kithara and their dying world. Dr. Amy Chun, a scientist who studied alien life, taught classes about what they might find on Thyros Prime. The Kithara are very different from humans, Dr. Chun explained to a group of volunteers. They're taller than us, with translucent skin and large eyes. They seem to be peaceful beings who love knowledge and art, but they're dying, and they need our help. Elena Rodriguez trained with medical teams, learning how to treat unknown alien diseases. She had joined the mission after losing her family to cancer. She saw similarities between human cancer and the alien plague that was killing the Kithara. Commander Pete Jackson, a former Marine, organized the volunteers into teams. He had fought in wars on Earth, but this mission felt different. Instead of going to fight enemies, they were going to save lives. We're not soldiers going to war, Commander Jackson told his teens. We're wrestlers going to help. Our job is to save an entire species from extinction. The construction of the rescue fleet took 6 months. Engineers built 12 ships, each one larger than any spacecraft humans had ever created. The main ship, called Un's Hope, would carry the command crew and most of the scientists. The other ships carried medical supplies, equipment, food, and thousands of volunteers. During construction, Dr. Martinez maintained contact with the Kithara. The aliens sent new messages every few days, describing how the consuming dark continued to spread across their world. Each message sounded more desperate than the last. We have retreated to our deepest underground cities, one message said. The consuming dark has taken most of our surface cities. We estimate 3 months before it reaches our last refuges. Please hurry. The messages broke Dr. Martinez's heart. She wished she could tell the aliens that help was coming, but the distance was too great. Radio signals would take 847 years to reach Thyros Prime. Finally, the day of departure arrived. Representatives from every nation on Earth came to watch the launch. Billions of people around the world watched on television as 19,000 humans prepared to leave Earth forever. The volunteers said goodbye to their families. Many cried, knowing they would probably never see their loved ones again. But they also felt proud. They were representing all of humanity on the most important mission in Earth's history. Captain Sullivan stood on the bridge of UNS Hope and looked at his crew. Dr. Martinez was there, serving as the chief scientist and communications officer. Dr. Chun would study the alien plague. Elena Rodriguez led the medical teams. Commander Jackson commanded the security forces. In a few hours, we'll attempt humanity's first faster-than-light journey, Captain Sullivan announced to the fleet. We're going to save the Kithara, and we're going to show the galaxy what humans do when someone asks for help. The launch was broadcast live around the world. Families watched as their loved ones disappeared into space. Children asked their parents when the heroes would come home. Most parents couldn't answer that question. The faster-than-light journey was unlike anything humans had experienced before. The ships seemed to stretch and twist as they entered what Dr. Miller called folded space. Stars became lines of light, and space itself seemed to bend around them. During the 8-month journey, the crew studied everything they knew about the Cathara and the plague threatening them. Dr. Chun and Elena Rodriguez worked together to understand how the consuming dark functioned. They hoped to find a way to stop it before they arrived. Commander Jackson organized the massive crew into specialized teams. Everyone had multiple jobs because the mission required flexibility. A cook might also be trained as a medic. An engineer might also know how to grow food. The psychological challenges of space travel were harder than anyone expected. Being trapped in metal ships for months tested everyone's patience. Some volunteers became depressed. Others argued with their teammates. Dr. Foster worked constantly to help people cope with the stress. She organized games, movie nights, and discussion groups. She reminded everyone why they were making this journey. "We're not just traveling to another star," she told one group. "We're carrying humanity's compassion across the galaxy. We're proving that intelligent species can help each other." Halfway through the journey, the crew received terrible news. Earth's radio telescopes detected that the Cathara's transmissions were getting weaker. Either their equipment was failing, or there were fewer aliens left alive to send messages. Dr. Martinez spent hours staring at the star charts, calculating how much longer the journey would take. She wondered if they would arrive in time to save anyone. As the fleet approached Thyros Prime, Captain Sullivan called all the ship commanders for a final meeting. The 12 ships had become like a small city in space, with 19,000 people working toward the same goal. "In 3 days, we'll arrive at the Cathara homeworld," Captain Sullivan announced. "We don't know what we'll find there. The planet might be completely dead. The aliens might all be gone. But we're going to do everything we can to help whoever is left." Elena Rodriguez looked out the window of UNS Hope at the alien star system growing brighter ahead of them. She thought about her family, who had died from a disease on Earth. Now she was traveling across the galaxy to fight a disease threatening aliens. "Hold on," she whispered, hoping somehow the dying Cathara could hear her. "We're almost there." On the 3rd day, the fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Ahead of them hung Thyros Prime, a world covered in gray scars where the consuming dark had spread. But there were also patches of blue and green, signs that parts of the planet still lived. Most importantly, they detected radio signals coming from underground. The Cathara were still alive, still fighting, still hoping for rescue. The 19,000 humans had arrived just in time. The first meeting between humans and Cathara happened aboard the UNS Hope. Captain Sullivan and Dr. Martinez waited nervously as a small alien ship approached their fleet. This was the moment humanity had traveled 847 light years to experience. Alien who came aboard was tall and graceful, with pale skin that seemed to glow softly. His large eyes held deep sadness, but also hope. He introduced himself as Elder Vorthek, leader of the surviving Cathara. "We did not believe anyone would come," Elder Vorthek said through a translation device his people had built. "We sent our message into the darkness, hoping someone might hear. You have traveled so far to help strangers." Dr. Martinez felt tears in her eyes as she looked at this being whose species was dying. "We came because you asked for help. That's what neighbors do for each other." Elder Vorthek showed them images of his dying world. The beautiful crystal cities the Cathara had built were now gray ruins. The glowing forests that once covered their planet had been consumed by the plague. Only the underground cities remained safe. "The consuming dark learns from everything we try," Elder Vorthek explained. "We created medicines to fight it, but it adapted. We built barriers to stop it, but it found ways through. We are scientists and philosophers, not warriors. We do not know how to fight this enemy. Dr. Amy Chun studied samples of the consuming dark that the Cathara provided. What she found horrified her. The plague was not a natural disease. It was some kind of weapon, built by an unknown intelligence to destroy entire worlds. This thing is designed to kill, Dr. Chun told Captain Sullivan. It's not just a plague. It's a weapon that thinks and learns. Someone created it to wipe out the Cathara. Elena Rodriguez worked with Cathara doctors to understand how the plague affected living beings. The aliens had tried everything they could think of, but the consuming dark adapted to every treatment. It's like fighting cancer that can change itself, Elena explained to her medical team. Every time we find a way to stop it, it becomes something different. The scale of the disaster became clear as human ships surveyed the planet. Lieutenant Sarah Kim led reconnaissance teams that mapped the damage from orbit. The consuming dark had consumed 80% of the planet's surface. It's worse than we thought, Lieutenant Kim reported. The plague isn't just destroying life. It's converting everything into more of itself. A planet is being transformed into something alien and hostile. Dr. Sam Miller's engineering teams worked with Cathara scientists to establish supply lines between the human fleet and the underground cities. The aliens needed food, medicine, and hope. The humans needed to understand their enemy. Commander Jackson organized security teams to protect the rescue operations. He discovered something troubling in the ruins of Cathara cities. Evidence suggested this was not the first time the consuming dark had been used as a weapon. Elder Vorthok, have other species in this region of space faced similar plagues? Commander Jackson asked during one of their meetings. The alien leader's large eyes grew even sadder. Yes, in our historical records, we know of 12 other civilizations that died from similar plagues over the past 1,000 years. We believed they were natural disasters. Now we understand they were attacks. This news made the human mission even more urgent. If they could not stop the consuming dark here, it might spread to other worlds. Earth itself could be at risk. Breakthrough came when Elena Rodriguez noticed something strange about how the plague adapted. Working with a Cathara scientist named Zephyra, she discovered that the consuming dark followed certain patterns when it changed. It's incredibly smart, but it has limits, Elena explained to the command team. It can only adapt to a certain number of threats at the same time. If we hit it with too many different attacks at once, we might overwhelm its ability to change. Dr. Chun built on this discovery. She began creating dozens of different biological weapons, each one designed to attack the plague in a different way. The plan was to deploy them all simultaneously, giving the consuming dark too many problems to solve at once. Bobby Turner's engineering teams worked to build massive machines that could clean the planet's poisoned atmosphere. Maria Santos organized agricultural teams to plant earth crops that might resist the plague. Every human volunteer found a role in the desperate plan. The Cathara contributed their advanced technology and scientific knowledge. They built weapons that humans could never have imagined. Together, the two species created tools that neither could have made alone. Your people think differently than we do, Zephyra told Elena during one of their working sessions. We approach problems logically and carefully. You approach them with determination and creativity. Together, we might actually succeed. The plan required perfect timing across the entire planet. Teams would attack the plague simultaneously from orbit, from the air, and from the ground. The humans would enter areas so dangerous that most of them would not survive. When Captain Sullivan asked for volunteers for the most dangerous missions, almost everyone raised their hand. Lieutenant Danny Wright, the construction worker from Texas, who had been the first to volunteer back on Earth, insisted on leading one of the ground teams. I didn't come all this way to hide in a safe place, Danny told the captain. These aliens need help, and I'm going to help them. Elena Rodriguez also volunteered for ground missions, despite being one of the few humans who understood the plague well enough to fight it. Commander Jackson tried to convince her to stay safe aboard the ships. "Elena, we need you alive." "You're?" "Too important to risk. Commander, I'm a doctor. My job is to go where the sick people are. The Kithara are dying down there, and I'm going to help them." The final battle plan divided the human force into dozens of specialized teams. Dr. Chun's biological weapons would attack the plague from within. Elena's medical teams would try to save infected Kithara. Bobby Turner's machines would clean the poisoned air and water. Most dangerously, ground teams led by Danny Wright and others would enter active plague zones to plant devices that would disrupt the consuming dark's ability to spread. These missions had almost no chance of survival. Elder Vorthik attended the final planning meeting. He looked at the humans who were about to risk everything to save his people. "Why do you do this?" he asked Captain Sullivan. "You barely know. U.S. We have nothing to offer you that is worth these sacrifices." Captain Sullivan thought for a moment before answering. "Elder Vorthik, imagine if your positions were reversed. If Earth was dying and we sent a message asking for help, what would the Kithara do?" "We would come to help you," the alien replied without hesitation. "Then you understand why we're here." The attack began at dawn on Thyros Prime. Across 6 continents, human teams deployed their weapons while Kithara forces provided support. The consuming dark responded immediately, adapting to each new threat with terrifying speed. The first hour was a disaster. Danny Wright's team suffered heavy casualties as the plague adapted to their weapons faster than expected. Elena Rodriguez barely escaped when the consuming dark overran a medical station where she was treating infected aliens. But the humans kept fighting. When one weapon failed, they tried another. When the plague adapted to their medicines, they created new ones. The battle became a race between human creativity and alien persistence. The tide began to turn when Maria Santos made an unexpected discovery. Earth plants, having never encountered the consuming dark before, resisted infection longer than anything from Thyros Prime. "Plant everything we brought from Earth," Maria ordered her teams. "Cover the planet with our crops. Buy us time." As Earth plants began taking root in plague zones, Dr. Chun's biological weapons finally started working. The consuming dark, overwhelmed by too many simultaneous attacks, began to lose ground for the first time in months. After 6 weeks of continuous battle, something miraculous happened. A plague stopped spreading. The moment the consuming dark stopped spreading, a cheer went up from every human ship in orbit around Thyros Prime. For the first time in months, the plague was not growing. Dr. Chun's biological weapons were working. Maria Santos' Earth plants were holding their ground. The tide of battle had finally turned. Elder Vorthik stood in the command center of Un's Hope, watching the reports come in from across his dying world. His large eyes filled with tears as he saw areas that had been gray and lifeless for months, beginning to show signs of recovery. "It is working," he whispered to Captain Sullivan. "Your impossible plan is actually working." But victory came at a terrible cost. Over 3,000 humans had died in the 6 weeks of fighting. Lieutenant Danny Wright was among the fallen. He had died ensuring that the final assault on the plague's main center succeeded. His sacrifice, along with thousands of others, had saved an entire alien species. Elena Rodriguez stood in a recovered Kithara hospital, treating aliens who had been infected by the plague but were now healing. Her medical techniques, combined with Kithara science, were saving lives that both species thought were lost forever. A young Kithara child approached Elena while she worked. The child's translucent skin glowed with health, a sign that the plague was leaving her body. "Are you one of the humans who came from the stars to help us?" the child asked in broken English. Yes, I am, Elena replied, smiling despite her exhaustion. Thank you for saving my family. Elena knelt down to the child's level. We came because your people asked for help. That's what friends do. The child hugged Elena tightly. It was the first time a human and Kithara had embraced, creating a bond between two species separated by vast distances, but united by compassion. Dr. Amy Chun continued her work studying the defeated plague. She discovered that while the consuming dark had stopped spreading, it had not been completely destroyed. Small pockets remained hidden across the planet. We've won the war, but we need to stay vigilant, Dr. Chun warned the Joint Human-Kithara Science Council. This plague could return if we're not careful. We need permanent monitoring systems. Many humans volunteered to stay on Thyros Prime. Permanently. It would help rebuild the alien world and make sure the plague never returned. Elena Rodriguez was among the first to volunteer. Earth is my home, she told Captain Sullivan. But these people need doctors who understand both human and Kithara medicine. I can do more good here. Bobby Turner also remained, leading teams that built new cities, combining human architecture with Kithara crystal growing techniques. The new settlements were more beautiful than anything either species had created alone. 2 years after the plague's defeat, Thyros Prime was blooming again. The crystal cities sparkled in the alien sunlight. The bioluminescent forests glowed with renewed life. Children of both species played together in gardens that mixed earth flowers with alien plants. Dr. Martinez had become Earth's first ambassador to an alien species. She worked with Elder Vorthik to establish faunal relations between their worlds. The Kithara had shared their faster-than-light technology freely, considering it small payment for their salvation. We can never repay what your species has done for us, Elder Vorthik told Dr. Martinez during one of their meetings. You don't need to repay us, she replied. You just need to help us help others. News of humanity's rescue mission spread across the galaxy faster than their ships could travel. Other alien species, who had given up the Kithara for dead, took notice of these strange beings who had traveled nearly 1,000 light-years to help strangers. The first contact request came from a species called the Zenthari, whose homeworld was threatened by a different kind of plague. They had heard about the humans who saved the Kithara and wanted similar help. Captain Sullivan, now promoted to admiral, oversaw the construction of permanent rescue fleets. These ships carried volunteers from both Earth and Thyros Prime, ready to respond to distress calls across the galaxy. Commander Jackson established training programs for interstellar rescue operations. Students came from multiple worlds to learn human techniques for fighting impossible odds with determination and creativity. The key to human success, Commander Jackson taught his alien students, is that we don't calculate the odds of success. We calculate what needs to be done and then figure out how to do it. Dr. Amy Chun's research laboratory on Thyros Prime became famous throughout the galaxy as the premier center for fighting biological disasters. Scientists from dozens of worlds came to study her techniques for overwhelming adaptive plagues. 5 years after the first distress signal, the galaxy had changed. The Galactic Cooperative Council, a loose group of older civilizations, invited both Earth and the Kithara worlds to join as members. Your species has shown us something we had forgotten, Council Speaker Morphic told the human delegation. We had become cautious, afraid to risk ourselves for others. You have reminded us that civilization means helping those in need. Elena Rodriguez, now in her 60s, had become the head of the Galactic Medical Emergency Response Corps. Her teams included humans, Kithara, and members of 6 other species that humanity had helped over the years. The Memorial Crystal for Fallen. Humans had grown into a vast garden of remembrance. Species from across the galaxy added their own monuments to honor those who had died helping others. It became known as the Garden of Heroes, a place where the grateful came to remember those who sacrificed everything for strangers. Danny Wright's name was carved in crystal letters 6 feet tall, along with the names of every human who had died, saving the Cathara. Beneath his name were the words he had spoken before his final mission. I didn't come all this way to hide in a safe place. The Cathara children who had been saved by the human mission grew up speaking both their own language and English. They called themselves the Saved Generation and dedicated their lives to continuing the work their human rescuers had started. Captain Sullivan, now elderly and retired, spent his final years writing about the mission. He struggled to explain why 19,000 humans had volunteered for an impossible journey to save aliens they had never met. His conclusion was simple. It's what humans do when someone needs help. One day, as Captain Sullivan worked on his memoirs, a new distress signal reached Earth. This time, it came from a mechanical species whose homeworld faced an organic plague that was destroying their technological civilization. Within hours, volunteers began stepping forward. The response fleet launched within weeks, carrying humans, Cathara, and representatives from every species humanity had previously helped. Elder Vorthik, now ancient even by Cathara standards, came to see the fleet depart. He stood beside Captain Sullivan and Dr. Martinez, watching the ships disappear into faster-than-light travel. "It never ends, does it?" Captain Sullivan asked. "I hope it never does," Elder Vorthik replied. "A galaxy is a better place because humans answer when someone calls for help." Years later, Elder Vorthik taught Cathara children about the day impossible aliens arrived to save his people. The younglings always asked the same question. Why did the humans come so far to help strangers? Elder Vorthik would smile and give the same answer Captain Sullivan had given him long ago. Because someone needed help, and they could provide it. The young Cathara struggled to understand such simple motivation for such extraordinary action. It could not comprehend risking everything for beings they had never met. Perhaps, Elder Vorthik would tell them gently, that's what makes them human. Dr. Martinez, now the oldest living human to have made the journey to Thyros Prime, often stood in the crystal gardens that had grown where the plague once ruled. She watched human and Cathara children play together, their laughter echoing across worlds. She thought about the single distress signal that had started everything. One message sent into the darkness of space by a dying species. 19,000. Humans had heard that call and crossed the galaxy to answer it. Now the galaxy was full of species ready to help each other. Rescue fleets traveled between the stars. Medical teams shared knowledge across civilizations. When disasters struck, help came from dozens of worlds. The humans had proved that compassion could cross any distance. In a universe that could be cold and hostile, they had shown that intelligent beings could choose to care for strangers. As Dr. Martinez watched the children play, she smiled. The legacy of those 19,000 volunteers would live forever in a galaxy where no species would ever again face extinction alone. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, new distress signals were probably being sent. And somewhere, volunteers were probably stepping forward to answer them, because that's what neighbors do for each other, no matter how far apart they live.